4 years ago, Tesla announced the Cybertruck. It shocked the world and ended up becoming one of the most polarizing products ever. People seem to either love or hate this truck with every cell in their body. Ultimately, though, it doesn't really matter until Tesla proves what the production version of this truck can do. We've had tons of speculation and rumor over the last few years, and Tesla opened up their new Texas factory, which would be the factory to make this truck. Here we are 4 years later, and Tesla has finally delivered the first Cybertruck. They held a delivery event at their Texas factory, and I got to be there for it. So let's get into how the event was, what we now know about the Cybertruck, and much more. And a special thanks to NordPass for sponsoring a portion of this video. Leading up to the Cybertruck unveiling was a lot of rumor and speculation, and Tesla was bringing Cybertrucks out to tons of Tesla stores around the US. Production was ramping at Giga Texas, certain specs had leaked, and the range somewhat leaked a bit, with most speculating it would be under a 300-mile range at launch. The day before, I spotted Tesla doing what must have been some filming with 10 Cybertrucks in a line at Giga Texas, and it was a pretty incredible sight. Seeing that many Cybertrucks really feels like the future, and eventually we will almost positively see Cybertruck owners replicating this view on their own. Tesla was also hard at work setting up for the event and getting the entrance to the factory completely ready to go. Through the Tesla app, some assets leaked like a cyber tent, a full animation for the Cybertruck's beast mode, which is likely its own launch mode, and then what the small base wheels will look like. They're much smaller wheels with larger tires, look a little goofy, but probably get the best range. The day before as well, influencers were getting their first look at the Cybertruck to release their own videos in time for the event. Monroe Live got an in-depth look with Tesla executives, MKBHD was filming in one, and his photo actually led to a lot of range speculation. On screen it showed 265 miles of range remaining, which likely meant 300-mile range estimates were pretty accurate for this truck, in the dual motor configuration at least. Tesla released a teaser, finally showing us some new footage of the Cybertruck, but then finally we could stop all of the speculation because it was time for the event. We showed up to the event, checked in, and parked, and then there was a special badge for referrers, which was pretty cool. It was this stainless steel Cybertruck referrer badge, which actually felt pretty cool, especially after paying 30,000 referral points for each of these. We took buses to the event, and I was actually surprised to not see any Cybertrucks out front, but it might have been because it was raining at the time of this. It was just kind of a light sprinkle, versus yesterday when I was looking at the factory, they had them on display. In any case, from there, we went into the factory, got to do a walkthrough, which showed us some of the internal engineering of the truck, the giga-pressed large single-piece casting, what the doors look like, what a motor looks like, and much more. But from there, it was the assembly line from beginning to end. So we were able to see the very beginnings of a Cybertruck all the way to one that is fully ready for production, and then they had them lined up ready for deliveries. At this point, it was pretty crazy because there were hundreds of Cybertrucks all over the place in various stages of production. Of course, some of this could be show for the event, but either way, it was impressive to see. A lot of processes there were fully automated, like applying the windshield to the Cybertruck body, and then they confirmed that there will be steer-by-wire on the Cybertruck. This is the first Tesla to ever have this technology, and there's actually not a mechanical backup, which is a first. It was a fairly quick tour that they actually wanted to push you through so that we could get to the presentation and live stream itself. Compared to the Cyber Rodeo, this was very small. It was a much smaller area. In some ways, it felt a little more intimate and cool, but it was really hot and there were a lot of people packed in. In any case, Elon finally took the stage late as usual for a Tesla event. Then the intro to the event was a compilation of tons of amazing Cybertruck footage that we can't wait to look at for the next few years. We've known they've been filming this footage in all areas around the world, but now we're actually seeing it for the first time, and it looks really cool. This shot is one of my particular favorites. The presentation also started by saying the future should look like the future, and Elon really emphasized that this is a special moment. Every once in a while there's a special moment where a special product comes along, and the Cybertruck is that product. The Cybertruck is very strong, as we've known for a while, but they demoed the armor glass, which withstood a baseball easily. It was very quiet and just kind of sounded like a thud in the space itself, but essentially Franz was redoing his test from 4 years ago. It's just it wasn't a metal ball, it was a baseball, which actually is a little more practical to what would be thrown at a Cybertruck, or accidentally hit the window of one. Then they detailed how this truck is bulletproof and showed a really impressive demonstration of it, how the bed is 6 feet long and 4 feet wide. It has an 11,000 pound towing capacity, which is lower than what they had originally announced at up to 14,000 plus pounds, but still very impressive. And then it has a payload capacity of 2,500 pounds, which Elon said could actually be a little more than this. Inside the bed, there is power, a NEMA 1450 plug, and 2 standard outlets. But then came the truck pull test. This is one of the first comparisons that Tesla showed off at the event that was really impressive to see. They compared it to the most popular powerful trucks out there. The F-150 Lightning made it 207 feet, but of course we aren't sure which spec of the F-150 Lightning this could be. It could be a base model. They also had the Rivian R1T, and that made it 257 feet. The Ford F-350 made it 263 feet, and then the Cybertruck made it 318 feet. It actually made it so far that it almost had to turn at the end because the course is not designed for going that long. Of course, we're unsure which Cybertruck spec this is, but it's likely the most powerful tri-motor one, which they now have announced as Beast Mode. It will have 35-inch all-terrain tires, air suspension with up to 17 inches of true ground clearance, and then steer-by-wire, and Elon detailed how this works for people who don't know. Essentially, it's dynamically adjusting how the wheel turns based on speed, so it's very easy to drive. When you're driving slowly in the Cybertruck, a little bit of turning gets a lot of action out of the wheels, versus on the freeway, a little bit of turning only turns a little bit. So it all relates to speed and makes this very maneuverable. He also said that the turning circle for the Cybertruck is smaller than the Model S, and that's of course aided by four-wheel steering on top of the steer-by-wire. But then came the drag race. Next, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, NordPass. NordPass is an intuitive and easy-to-use password manager, perfect for decluttering your work and personal online life. It's powered by the latest technology for the utmost security and has a lot of great use cases. One problem that employees often face is storing business credentials in spreadsheets, notebooks, or even sticky notes. Then passwords get lost and time is lost resetting a password. NordPass has the solution. For employees' business accounts, all their credentials are saved in one secure place with just a few clicks. By autofilling, they'll be able to access those accounts whenever they need. For IT professionals or business owners, password resets can interrupt a day and waste a ton of time over the course of a year. But NordPass eliminates this since all credentials are saved in one secure place. Strong passwords can also be the default requirement, ensuring the best security possible. On top of that, it's easy to add or remove access to systems, software, or sensitive data in seconds. Secure your business effortlessly with a 3-month NordPass trial. Use the activation code RyanShaw at nordpass.com/RyanShaw. It's a limited time offer, so check it out. They drag raced the Cybertruck versus a 2023 Porsche 911. In the drag race, the Cybertruck is definitely pulling out ahead, which is impressive to see, but they were sneaky with this one, and this was my personal favorite part of the event. The Cybertruck pulls out ahead of the 911, and then Elon says, but wait, there's more. The Cybertruck is towing a Porsche 911 and beating the Porsche 911 next to it. So not only is this gigantic electric truck beating the Porsche 911 in a quarter mile, but it's doing so while towing that car itself. Again, we don't know the spec of this particular Porsche 911, so we could be comparing apples to oranges a little bit. But this is when they confirmed the top performance specs for the Cybertruck, which are better than originally announced. It has a 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds, and a quarter mile that's under 11 seconds. And then came Deliveries. That was it. No other details presented by Elon at the event, just now we're starting deliveries. There might be something we've been wondering about that we wanted to hear about here. Oh yes, range and price. Tesla started delivering trucks, about 10 of them, to actual customers, and he said these were actual production vehicles to actual customers, but then the official confirmed specs and pricing announced online. When comparing to 2019 specs and pricing, of course, this is going to disappoint, but to a certain degree, it's also impressive. Also, these still say estimated because they are the pricing coming next year and into 2025. Starting with the rear-wheel drive model. This is the base model starting at $60,990. It will be available in 2025, get an estimated 250-mile range, and a 6.5 second 0 to 60. So that's about $21,000 more expensive than announced in 2019. Also, it's not coming for over another year. Up from there is the all-wheel drive dual motor version at $79,990. The delivery for this will start in 2024. It will get an estimated top range of 340 miles, a 4.1 second 0 to 60, a 111 mile per hour top speed, 600 horsepower, 7,435 pound-feet of torque, and 11,000 pounds of towing capacity. Those last few specs are not confirmed for the single motor, and it's likely because Tesla probably hasn't even really made that truck yet. That is also a huge price increase from what it was previously announced at in 2019, but does make sense for the functionality it is delivering. Also, it's great to see that the range is 340 miles. Their original estimate for that was 350 plus, so it's missing it by just a tad. And then the top spec tri-motor is $100,000, $99,990, and it's called the Cyber Beast. Delivery of this will start in 2024. It will get a 320 mile range, a little bit less than dual motor, so likely the same battery pack, but just heavier. 2.6 second 0 to 60, 130 mile per hour top speed, 845 horsepower, 10,296 pound-feet of torque, and an 11,000 pound towing capacity. So both of the dual motor versions of the Cybertruck get that same towing capacity. At the bottom of the website, they say you will be invited when your Cybertruck is ready to be configured, and now it's a fully refundable deposit of $250 to order. Previously, it was $100. So right there, it sounds like Tesla is not even close to delivering a 500-mile range Cybertruck, but they are. It's just nowhere near $70,000. At the bottom of the updated Cybertruck website, they talk about a range extender. It says extend your adventure. Go even further with a range extender installed into Cybertruck's bed, offering up to 470 plus miles estimated of total range, installed separately. That was all the details about that. They did not talk about this at the event or anything, but then Elon did tweet some clarification. He said, optional pack that fits in about 1/3 of the truck bed, as we can see in that photo. Still room for plenty of cargo. It's meant for very long trips or towing heavy things up mountains. Elon always talks about how carrying around a bunch of unused battery pack isn't really worth it. So this seems to be their compromise here, specifically for people who are going to be towing in their Cybertrucks. If you're never going to be towing in a Tesla, their view is that you don't need a 500-mile range. But if you are, you do need that, since your range is likely going to be cut in half or so depending on what you're towing. This also likely makes it much easier for Tesla to ship the Cybertruck with one specific battery pack for both dual motor and tri-motor, and then customers can go to a service center and add the range extender, probably for a decent amount more money, to then use for towing. What I would love is if this was removable, so that in any time you actually need it for towing, you can put it in there, and then you can take it out, but it's likely much too heavy and much too big for that. As for the interior, they confirmed an 18.5-inch center touchscreen, and there's no instrument cluster. There's a 9.4-inch touchscreen in the back with an all-new user interface. They say it has sublime audio, recording studio sound dynamics with 15 speakers, including 2 dedicated subwoofers and distributed amplifiers. Chargers for everything in the front and back, including wireless chargers, 65-watt USB-C and 120-volt and 240-volt outlets, and then, of course, bioweapon defense mode. It's actually funny because a lot of the great surprises from this event weren't actually in the presentation, like all of the accessories they announced. They call it Base Camp and say it fits 2 adults comfortably and pumps up in minutes, and here's my footage of what that looked like at the event installed into the back of a Cybertruck. They also have a spare tire that you can strap into the truck bed. They also have floor mats, a glass roof shade, a center console tray, the Cybertruck Vault cargo bins, specific Cybertruck color paint film, which is their own developed film, a tailgate ramp that is probably somewhat mimicking what they showed in 2019, but looks quite a bit different, bumper protectors, and a funny decal that emulates the 2019 window brake. There are Vault cargo dividers, other dividers, Cybertruck L-track hooks, wheel covers, an air compressor kit, and even more. So Tesla has a lot of plans for accessories with the Cybertruck. One last spec for the truck itself is that it says now it's a 250 kilowatt top charging speed. Previously this was supposed to be 350, so this is a little bit of a disappointment since that is a little bit slower than we expected. Maybe that is something that will change in future versions and future software updates, but we'll have to see. V4 Tesla superchargers are future-proofed for that speed, but as of right now, all superchargers only charge at 250, so it matches the Cybertruck, but long-term, we do hope it will get faster. Overall, this event was pretty much what I expected. It's more expensive than we wanted it to be, more expensive than they announced in 2019, and the specs are in some ways a little worse and in some ways a little better. I do kind of like Tesla's angle with the range extender, but what do you think? Leave a comment below. Do you want Tesla to instead just make one that is straight 500 miles out the gate without having to buy a separate accessory? Let me know your thoughts below. Regarding that range extender, it looks like it's going to cost about $16,000, but this has not been officially confirmed from Tesla themselves yet. So essentially that previously announced Cybertruck that was tri-motor and 500 plus miles is now going to cost you about $116,000. Comparing to other trucks with similar capabilities, sure, but comparing to 2019 pricing, definitely a disappointment. This event was short and seemed quite last minute as far as Tesla's planning, and it did seem like it maybe was going to be a bigger deal that they ended up making smaller. Still, I had a great time and it was fun to go, but I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks about the Cybertruck now that we actually know how it's going to ship in its production form from Tesla. Based on their website and based on just common sense, it seems like we aren't going to see real deliveries of this truck until 2024. There's these customers they delivered to today. They may scatter out some more deliveries here and there, but real production and real customers getting this truck probably won't happen for another couple months. In any case, I can't wait to dive in even further on the Cybertruck, so make sure you subscribe to this channel to see even more details coming up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.